Okay, here we are. Alt.nerd.obsessive. Worst episode ever.
Hey everybody, welcome to Worst Episode Ever, a podcast for people of The Simpsons, by people of The Simpsons, about how much we hate The Simpsons. We are here trying to find which is the worst episode ever. And as always, my name is Dan.
And as always, I'm trying to figure out where to put my hands.
I did notice you were like doing a little hand thing. I thought you were trying to signal something to me.
I'm trying to break this habit
That's
of
Jack,
holding
by the
the
way.
microphone. Hi, I'm Jack. I'm holding the microphone, and ever since we had Billy on the show, I've been holding the mic because it's crazy comfortable, but it's just...
I find the leaning, I just got my hands, I put them where I want.
But every time I want to like pick my nose or something, you hear a rustle. You hear the booger picking.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. Hey, guys, if this is your first episode, we don't always talk about boogers. We mostly talk about The Simpsons. Not always. Maybe like
every other
80 of the 90 episodes, which, by the way, Jack, today, our 90th episode.
Wow, our 90-Bo-Binety.
Our 90-Bo-Binety.
Bo-Binety.
There you go. That's what it is. We made it to 90.
511 to go.
Yeah, and even more than that, because a couple of weeks ago, The Simpsons was renewed for 2 more seasons.
Wow.
Through season 30, so we'll be at this for a while.
We totally said that was going to happen.
Yeah.
That was as soon as they renewed them for 27 and 28, we knew 29,
Right.
29, 30 was going to happen.
You're going for the records, you're going for 30.
I was kind of surprised at how it just suddenly, I found out in the elevator, like I have a news feed on the TV in the elevator, and that's how I found out. Like there was no Harry Shearer is holding out. It was a very smooth compared to the last.
Well, I don't know. Well, they picked up the show. I don't know if the talent deals are in place necessarily.
Do you think they would do the final 2 seasons without Shearer's characters?
Probably not, but, you know, I'm sure Fox has picked up the show, and I'm sure they have to figure that out later. But
that would be terrible.
They'll never stop The Simpsons, Jack. That's how it is.
Do you think there'll be a season 31? I think 30's a round number. That's a good spot to end it.
Yeah, I think it is.
I feel like I would have been disappointed if they didn't make it to 30.
Right.
And now everything past 30 is icing on the cake. You know, at this point it's like 9 stories of icing with a little bit of sponge on the bottom.
Hopefully they're not like, we made it to 30. Could we do 40?
But I could see them when they hit 30 and they're just like, what else are we going to do? Yes, the cast is getting much older, but they're not. It's not. You know, you're talking in a microphone.
Well,
it ain't rocket science.
No, it's not.
Any 2 idiots can pick their noses and
you got to buy a microphone. You can get them on Amazon.com. Go through WePodcast.com first.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is season 31.
I would be a little bit surprised if there was season 31 because I feel like they would end it with a movie. I think they do a second movie.
They will do that.
And that'll be it. And then after season 30, do a movie, done.
I agree with the movie. I'm just saying maybe this can be season 31.
It's the classic thing from Community fans, 30 seasons and 2 movies.
Yeah, that's how that
works,
every
right?
TV show wants.
Yeah, Cheers. We're still waiting for those other 19 seasons and both movies.
Can you imagine? So, season 15 is like going to be the halfway point.
The halfway point that's frightening. Season 15 is
season
pretty
14, season 13. That was back in the
back in the early 2000s. Prehistoric times. Now we didn't even have iPhones.
Like, literally, like not even like people are old enough to vote. There's people who have like lived, had kids, died.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
whole
ridiculous.
lives have
30
been lived.
years, a long time.
During the
that
duration
would be
of The
like
Simpsons.
Marty McFly going back in time in the DeLorean 30 years, and like he's like at his parents' place, and they're like, oh, now we can watch Simpsons while we eat. And he's like, oh, this show's on. Where I come from, we watch Simpsons on 2 TVs.
We watched 30 seasons at once.
He's just joshing you, kid.
On our Oculus Rifts.
He's just joking.
All right, guys. We're not here to talk about Back to the Future or future seasons of The Simpsons. We are actually here talking about the Bart of War, which is an episode from season 14 of The Simpsons, originally aired May of 2003.
That's how you say it.
I was trapped when I said 20. Jack, have you seen this one?
Well, what's it about?
I have no idea what it's about.
What season?
There's some sort of Native American connection, which is why we chose it for November.
I've probably seen it.
Yeah, I feel like...
happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
We're honoring the Native Americans by,
I don't know what day it is
episode.
when we're recording this. I don't know what day this is coming out, and I don't know what day Thanksgiving is. So maybe this is our Thanksgiving episode, or maybe next week we'll be out on Thanksgiving. I don't actually know.
I want to say this is going to be a week before. I hope it's a week before. If Thanksgiving is next week, we got some plans to make.
Yeah, we gotta get our shit together, get some turkeys, some tofurkeys.
Gotta stuff the turkey butt full of bread and onions. That's what you do. You stick it in the butt. Can you imagine if there was like a superior species to humans, and like for once a year they would just take a Dan Mulhall and stuff his butt full of bread
and roast me? What a way to go, though. That's my dream. So if you're listening from a distant star system, my butt is available for stuffing.
He said it's okay. Commence butt operation.
Is it time for the Daleks? All right, guys.
X stuffer butt.
Yep.
X stuffer butt. That's what the plunger's for, to shove it in all the Wonder Bread.
Before we started recording, we were like, let's do a nice quick intro and get it over with.
Still going.
We're still going. So here's what we're going to do.
We'll never stop the intro.
All right.
We've got stories for years.
Jack, our intro was just renewed for 30 more seconds, so we'll have to keep going.
No, but my contract wasn't. I'm actually you're going to have to get a replacement. Use some guy from YouTube.
Hey, everybody, I'm going to be Jack from now on. Oh, man. Freet Goldberg here in studio. So, Freet, what did you think of this episode?
All right.
I loved it.
Last minute contract negotiation. I'm back.
Oh, well. Do I still get paid? No, you don't. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to take a break and watch the Bart of War. If you need to take a break and also watch it, you can do that on simpsonsworld.com if you're in the U.S., or you can get it on DVD because it's on season 14, or just go out and find it wherever you found 89 episodes prior to this one.
In the alley behind the street.
Yeah,
they've just been really lucky. Every episode we covered was in the alley behind their homes.
Check an alley behind your home. You never know who's leaving Simpsons screeners back there. It's possible. So we're going to take a break and watch the episode and go to amazon.wepodcast.com to support the show. That gives us
buy stuff. Black Friday.
Because I said it was on DVD. If you want to buy the DVD, take a break, order it on Amazon.
We don't know when Thanksgiving is, but we know the day after there's going to be lots of sales. You can have Cyber Monday where you
where you're cybering all day, stuffing that turkey butt.
I'm taking off my top and buying this blender for $15 off.
Oh, man. All right, we're going to take a break.
Hail to our new chief, the surprisingly hot Mrs. Simpson.
Well, thank you. I'm going to make sure you boys have the best possible preteen brave experience.
But I was chosen by the Great Spirit to teach these young braves the ways of the antelope and the ear of corn, which we call maize. That's the papoose. I'll be at most talking normal.
So we forgot who suggested the episode.
Oh yeah, we did. So should we do that now?
Yeah.
Okay. This episode was suggested by Trash Boat. So thank you, Trash Boat.
Thank you, Trash Boat. Like as in a
boat of trash
that Homer crash lands in, and
I guess.
Where's this going to?
Garbage Island.
So that was the Bart of War.
Yeah, I just got real tired all of a sudden. This is gonna be a real great episode.
Yeah, no, this one didn't have a very strong identity or strong. There's not much to really go at with this. It's kind of just there.
Yeah, I mean the plot of this episode is a little bit all over the place, but I didn't hate this episode.
No.
It had funny moments that we'll definitely talk about.
It just kind of came and went.
Yeah, there were also a lot of weird Beatles references for some reason, but we'll talk about that. I think we need a recap, Jack. A patented recap. Recap? Is that what we're calling it?
We're going to call it the recap.
Recap.
All right, it's our recap. So the episode starts with Bart and Milhouse watching South Park. Marge kicks them out. Well, Marge says you can't watch South Park, it's too violent, so they go outside and play. They end up, they were flying a fly.
Like you do.
And the fly flew into Flanders' house and got eaten by the Flanders cat, so they snuck into Flanders' house to find it. That's where they discover Flanders actually has an entire room that is dedicated to the Beatles memorabilia. He's a Beatles collector. He's a huge Beatles
shrine.
Yeah, secret Beatles shrine. So they wreck that. They wreck Flanders' whole house, basically. Flanders comes home. He freaks out. He calls the cops. They get in a lot of trouble, and Marge decides to split Bart and Milhouse up because Milhouse is clearly the troublemaker.
Yeah, right.
So Bart has nothing to do, I guess, or maybe they're trying to give him instill some discipline into him.
Flanders didn't want to press charges, but he said that Bart needs like an adult's hand, so he has to join some kind of group.
Right. So he joins
the junior campers, for example.
the preteen.
The preteen Braves is what they were called.
So it's basically Boy Scouts that are... I mean, is this a thing where there's not the Boy Scouts, but there's Boy Scout type troops that are dedicated to specific cultures?
I don't know. I mean, they don't.
Or is this just a Boy Scout?
They already did the Boy Scouts thing with the junior campers one, so I guess they just wanted to do something different.
Okay. So anyway, this is whether it's real or not. This is
the whole rivalry thing with the Indians and the cavalry.
So this is a Boy Scouts that's dedicated specifically to Native American culture. And at first, Homer starts it, but he does a terrible job. So Marge takes over, and they actually grow to love it. It's Bart, it's Ralph, Nelson, and Database.
database.
And meanwhile, Milhouse and Kirk Van Houten do the Rival, which is a Civil War cavalry-based group, which I'm pretty sure is not real.
No, definitely not. But
what was the Cavalry Kids?
Cavalry Kids, yeah.
And basically, the A-plot of this episode is just this rivalry between the Native American, the preteen Braves, and the Cavalry Kids.
Right. They end up having to do a chocolate selling contest, and they kind of have some mild pranks against each other.
Yeah.
Really not much of that.
And then it ends with basically a brawl. It turns into an entire brawl that takes over all of Springfield. Everybody's fighting. It's brother against brother.
Right.
Which is not the best analogy for the Civil War when one side is a Native American. It's not exactly how, how that went.
Yeah, no, not at all.
The war betwixt
the
states and all those people who committed genocide.
Yeah.
And they all, at some point, that's right. Sea Captain and Sideshow Mel decide to call a truce, and so they all stop
well,
fighting.
They were the leaders of the two different factions,
well,
obviously.
I guess Bart and Milhouse made peace, and then everybody else did, and the episode ends with everybody rallying together and singing "Oh Canada" in the shape of a maple leaf.
So here's the thing about this episode. There's really no B-plot. It's all kind of A-plot.
Yeah.
Like, it's the story you just described. Yeah. That's what happens in the episode.
It's Full Metal Jacket. It's all A-plot. That's the second half of the episode.
Sure. Yeah. But the thing that I noticed is it's kind of all over the place. Like, there's sort of a rivalry between Bart and Milhouse, but it's not really played up that much.
That should have been the core. That should have been the spine of this narrative.
So the episode's titled The Bart of War, and in the middle of the third act, I was like, are we finally getting to the war? Because they were in competition with the Cavalry Kids. Yeah. But that wasn't even like that big of a deal.
The Art of War is like an ancient Chinese
Sun Tzu,
text.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with
Civil
War era?
It's a clever-ish pun, just putting Bart instead of Art. But yeah, this episode it's weird.
You're right.
We'll go scene by scene.
We will. You're right though. If they had honed in on it being Bart versus Milhouse, which I know they've done before, maybe not in season 14, but to that extent, but that could have been much more interesting. Basically, like you said, there's a series of escalating pranks that they do,
but not even really. There's really just one. Like they put the laxative in the chocolate, and then that's kind of it.
There was a montage there's a 6-second montage of pranks.
Yeah, I
but
guess.
Homer, I believe, was kind of behind. He's like, I'm taking over again from Marge. We're gonna do pranks.
Right.
It should have been Bart and Milhouse. Doing,
yeah, they should have been the ones coming up with the plans.
And it should have been tied into that. Like, Bart's a prankster, but maybe Milhouse's pranks are some, he got the idea while walking Fuffy Boo Boo or whatever.
Right. And even if you're going to do that, you could have, when they get caught for the Beatles thing in the beginning, like, have them blame each other. Like, it was they just were arrested and like, Marge's like, I'm separating you two, and then suddenly they're
Milhouse
rivals.
is a bad influence,
right?
Which is obviously
ridiculous.
Yeah, no, you're right. They should have. Bart should have done. You know what? That could have been it, because Bart's always treated Milhouse like shit, but he's never threw him under the bus and basically made him like stabbed him in the back and made him take credit, because that's like crossing some kind of line between just being mean to your sidekick lackey.
Well, they had that one where they took over the comic book store, which did we do that episode? I think we did.
Biclops,
yeah, with the Biclops. They got into an actual fist fight in that episode.
Yeah, because Milhouse had lied about something, but that's different. Than
not quite the same.
Bart
but
literally throwing Milhouse under the bus. Well, not literally, but
we want to literally see Bart throw Milhouse under that bus.
Yeah, that would have been a much more interesting start to this episode.
Because
and then
you'd be hard pressed to explain this episode. Like,
it would almost been like a even though it's this weird Civil War thing, it could have been almost like a West Side Story thing, where basically they form gangs around their ideologies, and you have a Bart gang versus a Milhouse gang.
Yeah, that could be something.
It could be preteen Braves, it could be Cavalry Kids, but yeah, it's Bart's. What makes Bart tick versus what makes Milhouse tick?
Because what's like the log line of this episode? Like, what would you say? Like, the Junior Campers episode, Bart joins the Junior Campers.
Yeah. This one is Bart joins the Junior Campers and faces off against a rival group of Junior Campers.
But that's not, like, that comes in so late in the episode, though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it just feels directionless, this episode.
It's very fluffy, very
not
airy.
A terrible episode, as we'll discuss, but I mean, just not a lot of weight to it.
It's just there.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to the beginning.
It's like the opposite of the woman in the Carlos Santana song. She's just there.
Oh boy.
Couch gag.
Couch gag, yeah. Really great couch gag, I thought. The Simpsons run in, they sit on the couch, and just giant baby hands pick them up and just holds them up and looks at them.
It's a big, dumb-looking baby.
Dumb-looking baby. The design of the baby was so good.
It was short. It was sweet. It was surreal.
Yeah, it was really surreal.
Because they're not toys. They're still
they're still people. It's just a giant baby now.
I thought for a split second, I thought God was picking them up.
Right. That would have been good too.
But yeah, just a baby.
The pan up to giant baby, and he had like this big dumb expression. I just loved it.
I feel like the entire concept of our podcast would go away, and all this hate for post-classic Simpsons, if any time they had this instinct to do a bad joke or a bad pun,
cut to the giant baby.
Just pan up to a giant baby playing with the Simpsons.
I would be much more in favor of that.
You got like the coach going bombardment, and then they pan up, and the baby just takes the coach and picks him up, and we're like, oh, okay,
Gaga goo goo.
Bombardment's my favorite. It's like the dead dumb baby.
Oh man,
yeah, they should have just done that.
They should have. Then the episode proper starts with a little dig at South Park. South Park did an episode. Simpsons did it.
It's not North Trees. It's literally
actual South Park.
They didn't Cosmic Wars it up.
Yeah, North Trees. I would watch North Trees. It sounds like Northern Exposure.
There's a moose.
Yeah. There's not a lot of bite to their South Park parody.
I liked it. I didn't think it was lazy. You're right that there's not a lot of bite, but good. They don't need to take a vicious bite because South Park's not doing anything wrong.
Well, they started off Bart and Milhouse. They say, oh, I hear the kids on that show are voiced by grown-ups.
Fine. Little meta joke.
Whatever. And
basically, the episode is here's a bunch of random celebrities and something wacky.
Right, it was Callista Flockhart, somebody else I don't remember, and
Fart
the crippled robot.
Yeah, it's just like
I liked Fart the crippled robot.
Exactly, it's dumb.
Yeah,
it's not exactly what South Park does, but it basically distills it in a very
I mean, this was 2003, so South Park had been on for like 5 years. I feel like South Park hadn't fully become the satire it is, especially now.
No. At that time, it was still more
like
known
Mr. Hanky, the Christmas
jokes.
poo, and all the ridiculous Mecha Streisand.
Yeah, and they were which they still are to this day, controversial for controversial sake. They just kind of do something. Oh, can't you believe we're doing this? And in this case, it's O.J. Simpson comes out of the fart and starts killing everybody.
I never thought I'd hear that sentence before. O.J. Simpson comes out of the fart and starts killing everybody.
You haven't been to my O.J. Simpson fart parties.
Oh man, I really want an invite.
It's like Eyes Wide Shut. But instead of orgies, we all fart out O.J. Simpsons.
What's the code word? It was Fidelio and Eyes Wide Shut. What would it be for the O.J. Simpson fart party?
Cato.
There you go. It's Cato. Oh man.
So they, I didn't mind this. It was like it didn't make me laugh. It wasn't like, oh wow, that's a great dig at South Park. But I also wasn't rolling my eyes at it, which I'll take.
Yeah,
my eyes enjoy the break from watching these episodes of The Simpsons.
Here's something I bet you didn't like. They're watching it, and the OJ on the South Park just starts chopping people's heads off. And it cuts back to Bart and Milhouse dancing in a circle going, cartoon violence, cartoon violence.
Like the fact that they're watching OJ stab Callista Flockhart in the head after he had been birthed from a robot fart. I'm
liking
subtext.
this more and more the more we talk about it.
That's your subtext. You don't need to go bigger than that. And then they go to supertext and literally have to cut to Bart and Milhouse. Oh, we're kids. We love cartoon violence by singing and dancing. Cartoon. What the fuck? Who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah, it just undercuts whatever point you're trying to make by just making it painfully obvious.
First thing that gets doomsdayed out in a second draft where you go, oh, we already this is just the same
hit
joke
that button
twice.
already. Is there a better button we can put?
We already did this, except now you're just saying it and not acting it. Why is it still here?
How
did that make 40 cuts, 40 drafts?
I don't know. Well, it made the first draft, which is what they
If the Simpsons writers actually were the Kryptonian scientists that had made Doomsday, Superman never would have died.
No, he wouldn't have.
It wouldn't even gotten him. Booster Gold would have killed Doomsday on the path to Metropolis, and that would have been it.
That would have been
the death of
a
Superman.
less interesting story, but good for Booster Gold.
The epic death of Superman story would just be the slight victory of Booster Gold. Batman v Superman would be the third act, the random third act that has nothing to do with anything, would be Booster Gold coming in.
I want to write a comic called The Slight Victory of Booster Gold. DC, get at me. I'm ready when you are.
It could be the biggest epic of the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, check out our episode about 90s comics.
Yes, 90s percentile.
More about Doomsday on that.
Absolutely, and that whole thing.
Yeah, seriously, how does that stupid cartoon violence make it? What's going on?
I don't know. But then Marge comes in and says, "I don't want you guys watching this violent show." And there's just like a 10-second thing where she puts on PAX TV, which is like religious programming. And then it cuts away, and then Bart and Milhouse are flying a fly, which is just odd.
Yeah, they literally have a house fly tied to a string, and it's flying around like a kite.
Did I miss something there? Like, was there a line like? let's fly a fly or something.
I think so. I don't. It's just. I don't.
It
know.
was weird. If we missed something, let us know. Because they tie a thread to a fly and just fly it like it's a kite. And
if that was a one-off weird surreal thing, okay, I guess. But it's not. It leads to the next. It's the next step in the plot.
Right, and then the fly flies into Flanders' house, and that kind of kicks off the whole Beatles thing. But yeah, I've never ever.
Why didn't they make it a flying beetle? Oh, the Beetle Force and the Beatles.
How ironic!
No, that's terrible.
Cartoon violence.
Cartoon violence. No, that's terrible. Don't do that.
Yeah,
that's not as genius as the Slight Victory of Mr. Gold.
They should have flown a kite, Mr. Kite. Right, that's a Beatles song, and then Mr. Kite, for the benefit of Mr. Kite.
Yeah,
that's
of course,
a thing.
Yeah.
Is that too on the nose?
I don't know what I don't know what was going on here, but yeah,
I don't know what any of
the
this
fly
was,
smells a cake or a pie that was left.
Well, it goes into a sandwich.
Oh, sandwich. That's right.
And then it's eaten by a cat. That apparently Flanders has a cat.
I'm assuming we've never seen this cat really before, but I'm assuming Maud died, and the kids are like, "Ooh, we miss your mom." so Flanders is like, "Here's a cat. This
I want to see that episode where Flanders gets a cat. What kind of hijinks does the cat get into in Flanders' house?
He probably scratches the edge of the sofa.
Yeah,
poops in a couple of shoes, and then everything.
This sounds like 22 minutes of wholesome entertainment, Jack. I would be into it. Season 30, maybe. Flanders gets a cat.
I hope that's the series finale.
That's the series
Everybody's
finale.
like, how will The Simpsons end?
Oh, man, I think I'll buy a cat. Gee Willikers. That's an awful Flanders that I've just done.
But the cat's actually a Satanist.
Yeah. Oh, and he brings, it's the Antichrist, and he brings about the end of Springfield, and that's how the show ends.
I'd watch that.
I'd watch that, too.
So they go in. The cat's dead. I mean, not the cat. The fly. The fly is dead.
That's how the series ends.
So they just have free reign in Flanders' house.
Right.
This was all impetus to just get them in the house.
Have them break into Flanders' house. Yeah. There is a weird line when they break into Flanders' house. I think it was Bart comes in and sees like, oh, the cat ate the fly. And I wrote this down. Maybe I didn't get it right, but I wrote that Milhouse says, "Sometimes I wish Flanders would eat me."
No, it was
that the cat was.
Yeah,
just
sometimes I wish a cat would eat me.
Maybe that's what it was because it didn't make any sense if it was Flanders.
He's depressed. He's a suicidal.
Right,
10-year-old.
I get that.
He wants death by cat.
Yeah, no, that makes more sense.
It doesn't always work. Sometimes the cats bring you back to life.
Sometimes cats puke you up.
They
do that. My cat pukes all the time.
Batman Returns.
That's true. Yes,
they nibbled cat powers.
So you can get your vengeance on Christopher Walken.
I think that's what Milhouse meant.
That's what he did. Absolutely. He's like, I gotta go after Christopher Walken. I'm Max Shrek.
You thought I was gonna push you out the window.
Let's just watch Batman Forever. Or not Batman Forever.
All
Batman
four
Returns.
of them are on
HBO?
HBO.
Yeah. And so is Martha.
The Specialist.
Martha the movie is coming to HBO as well.
Martha?
It's Superman, Batman.
Yeah.
Martha.
Why do you say that name? Where's Booster Gold? Is your name Martha too? You want to be my friend?
Booster Gold's mother, also named Martha.
Martha Gold.
All right. There's a line I like. So Milhouse and Bart go into Flanders' kitchen and they say, oh, he's out of peanut butter. Let's just make some. And they put peanuts and butter in the blender. That's kind of funny that they think that's what peanut butter is.
You do it, except you're supposed to deshell the peanuts and you use oil, not butter.
Yeah,
that's peanut butter.
That is peanut butter.
That's all you do.
If it separates, you just mix it back up. But they put it in, and Milhouse says, now to put the top on the blender. And I like Bart had a line, I didn't get where I am by putting the tops on things.
Yeah, that was great.
Just a random line, but it was
kind of
funny.
sums up
a good
Bart's
delivery.
Chaos.
Yeah,
and
Bart
it's
is
silly.
just goes without protection,
again,
blends without a top.
If this episode had been distilled to what makes Bart tick versus what makes Milhouse tick, it could have been very interesting. Bart is an agent of chaos.
Sure.
Milhouse has this kind of weird depression from being a nerd and having no real friends and having
divorced
broken
parents.
home.
Yeah.
There's something there that it almost reminds me of the real Ghostbusters episode where they're on a tropical island and two ghost brothers, a blue one and a red one, take over Ray and Venkman.
Okay,
and they become and they have this epic battle.
I don't remember this one, but
Milhouse
it sounds great.
would be blue because he has blue hair.
Sure.
Bart wears a sort of red shirt.
Yeah,
this was it. Red versus blue.
Red versus blue. It's done. Yeah. This would have been a good time to kind of seed that into the plot.
And
if that's where it was going.
You had a great line right there with the top. I didn't even go to where I'm going tops off things. That's subtext.
Yeah,
that's explaining Bart without him dancing in a circle, going, "I like chaos.
I cartoon violence."
Yeah. Just come on. There's good writing in this episode.
Yeah.
Why is there bad writing in this episode?
It's not a bad episode, but it really could have been a very good episode with a few little tweaks. Little tweaking twists.
So now they're riding a TV cart with some VHS tapes on it. This was 2003 VHS tapes, still hanging on, still clinging on.
Yeah. On their way out in 2003.
Clinging on the side of the Titanic.
Sure. Some people had brought them to college with them, as we know.
I did. The DVD was hanging on.
Yeah.
Don't let go.
No,
Don't let go.
Streaming.
The VHS let go. Sank to the icy bottom. And they said, what was it? Debbie Does Penance.
It was Girls Gone Mild and Debbie Does Penance.
You know, they didn't.
I like them.
They didn't do a close up of it. It was just there.
They did a quick close up.
They didn't hang on it.
It was a zoom in that pulled out, and then you saw them riding on the cart. Yeah, it was
fine.
perfect. It was good.
Girls Gone Mild.
Yeah, it's cute. And then they crash into the Beatles room, which is something we've literally never, ever heard of with Flanders before, that he's a big Beatles fan. The justification is kind of good. Later on, when Flanders comes in and Homer's like, I didn't know you were a Beatles fan. And he's like, of course, they were bigger than Jesus.
That line is great.
That's a good line.
They're bigger than Jesus. Flanders likes them. And also, it works for me.
Yeah.
There's no reason why Flanders wouldn't be a Beatles fan.
Right.
It kind of, he's...
Well, it's weird. I mean,
yes, now he's like super, like evangelical Christian, but he started out as more of like a kind of upper crusty everyman. And now, look, there's been 30 seasons. There was 14 seasons at this point.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what your stereotype, what your archetype was from the get-go. There's rooms to shade in these characters. And Flanders being a diehard Beatles fan, I love it. It doesn't contradict anything, and it's just like an extra dimension to him.
Yeah, I have another thing to say about Flanders, but real quick, I just want to point out this episode will be, for sure, the first half of the series.
Yeah.
This episode will count as the first
right now
half of
it's
the
already
Simpsons.
in the first half because we're in
You're
season
right.
28.
We're in 28. Yeah, you're right.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. But Flanders, the bigger than Jesus thing, I like that. But what the hell was the real world reason to put all this Beatles stuff in? Was it some kind of Beatles anniversary in 2003?
I don't think so. The Beatles anniversary was in like 94, 95.
Right, I remember that.
Dana Carvey
Yeah,
show.
I remember that.
And he was just going,
Looking at that Ringo, and he was going drum to drum to drum.
Watch Dana Carvey.
Watch Dana Carvey. The Dana Carvey show is delightful. But yeah, I was wondering just if Fox was doing some kind of Beatles thing,
you harped
Beatles
on
night.
It, before we started recording, and you mentioned a couple of times. It was really just that one scene. They didn't really drown us in Beatles stuff.
But there was just like so much Beatles stuff.
Well, you're in a room full of the Beatles.
I guess, but why does it have to be a room full of the Beatles?
Because that's the thing. That Flanders is a
right. But why is it Beatles? It could have been a room of anything.
Well, why is anything?
I don't know.
Why is Bart flying?
Some things have reasons, Jack.
I don't know. I think this didn't need to be.
All right.
This didn't tie into the plot at all. It didn't need to.
I think we're doing a real team red versus blue thing here.
Are you Ray or are you Venkman?
I am clearly Venkman. Dibs on Venkman.
I'm not going to be Ray, especially not cartoon Ray.
You can
Movie
be Winston.
Ray is fine.
You don't want to be the orange haired Ray,
the portly
one. Yeah,
poor Dan Aykroyd. Yeah, I like the fake Beatles merch too. I thought there was like some really funny gags there.
There were.
I had a question. Here's something.
Ask a
I had
question.
a thought. So they had old 40-year-old soda, and one of the flavors was Mango Star.
Yeah.
So mango wasn't a thing when we were young kids. Didn't mango like come of age in the late 90s as the go-to flavor?
Yeah, I feel like
Wasn't it
mango
pretty much just orange, grape, and
Mango was not
strawberry?
in the flavor elite
Exactly.
for a number of years.
I doubt it was in the 60s because I
doubt
really
it.
don't think it was when we were kids. I think it was like something that happened in high school
Yeah.
where suddenly
mangoes were cool again.
What were those? All those like
Or for the
beverages
first time.
came out like in the wake of Snapple. This is definitely 90s talk. The Mystic.
Yeah,
I feel like when those came out and Sobe.
Yeah,
that
those
was
had
when,
some mangoes
That's
in
when
them.
mango became big. There was never mango yogurt when I was growing up.
No, definitely not.
I don't know. So
I don't like
so
mango,
Mango Star, not believable.
Yeah. But yeah, they were cute names. John Lemon, obvious layup. I kind of liked Paul Mick Iced Tea.
Yeah. There was a carpenter's guy they had.
Yeah, well, it was Orange Harrison was the other soda, but then they had the Beatles present home carpentry. I'm fixing a hole in me drywall.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, these are all good gags that would have worked in season 3.
Yeah, not bad stuff.
So they drink this 40-year-old soda. They get sick. Milhouse goes, I don't feel so fab, which I liked.
Right, yeah.
They
Bart
didn't
has
draw
this
attention to
hallucination where he sees Milhouse kind of evolve as John Lennon.
I liked it. All the different Beatles eras in Milhouse form.
It was fine, but I was just like, why Beatles things?
This really reminded me of, and I didn't even realize it was going to the Junior Campers episode.
Sure,
it
yeah.
reminded me of when they drink the squishy and they hallucinate.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
Milhouse
man.
even goes, he goes, let's go nuts when we're in Flanders, and then he stops and he just like starts playing with a light dimmer.
Right.
But the intonation in his voice, I really thought he was going to go, let's go
go
nuts,
crazy Broadway style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's just another
it's almost like
similarity.
a soft reboot of the
this is
a Junior's Campers.
What do they call them? Requels? Is that what they call them?
Soft reboot or a requel.
Well, I think they call them requels.
But like if this was to be a true, whatever decade this is, 2010s.
Yeah, I don't even know what day
soft
it is,
reboot.
Yeah,
all it needed was like Ernest Borgnine coming back for a brief as a different character, or no, it would be the same character but like one scene. He'd be de-wonging it up.
So Flanders comes home. Flanders comes home and he says there was a funny line where he and Rod and Todd, I think they planted a peach tree for the elderly.
Yeah.
And Rod was just like, I wish we could have seen the elderly enjoy it. And he was like, the sin of envy. And then Todd was like, you're right, I'm sorry. And Sanders go, the sin of regret.
Yeah.
I like that. That was funny.
That's funny.
And then they walk in and Flanders just goes, wait a minute, the house is slightly askew. Boys, to the panic room.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Slightly askew. It was clearly trashed.
I guess that's true. But they run into the panic room, which I feel like panic room was parodied heavily during this time in our lives. Like the early 2000s, lots of panic room jokes.
I'm going to be honest, I never had heard of a panic room until the movie came out.
Yeah, I don't even know if they were a thing until the movie came out. Maybe like for the super rich. But
I don't think people went and got panic rooms after the movie came out. But
I bet some people did. I did. Whenever I panic, I go in that room.
The closet?
Yeah.
The bathroom?
I go to the bathroom. I take my panic poops. Anytime you have diarrhea, it becomes the panic room.
I'm the opposite. I do my my mindfulness poops.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
I feel the poop coming out my butt. I'm aware of it.
I'm aware of the poop.
I'm moving on.
I appreciate the sensation of feeling the poop come through my butt cheeks. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Poopfulness.
So then the police come, and we get a little bit of Jack's favorite bit.
Wigabloo Corner. We need like a Paul Schaefer theme song.
Yeah.
Wigabloo Corner. So we need something. It would have been more effective if the fake keyboard I was hitting made actual
noises. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to do a Paul Schaefer Wigabloo Corner.
So we got one of those trademark bits. I honestly don't even remember what they said.
Something about Lou slept with Eddie's ex-wife.
Right.
It's like, why don't you tell him, Chief? And Chief's like trying to mediate. It's very quick.
Not great, but not the worst.
But it sticks out. It has nothing to do with what's going on.
It's stuck out, yeah. And it takes you out of the show.
And again, there's a great example of an episode with good writing and bad writing. There's a Wigabloo Corner again. Wigabloo Corner! Woo! It's in there. About a minute later, and it's tied into the plot, and it's great.
Right,
and it works great.
That's where Wiggum, they are arresting Bart and Milhouse for breaking into Flanders' house, and he says, "Looks like you boys are going to take the last train to Clarksville." And then Lou comes over and he says,
"That's
the monkeys, Chief."
Yeah, and it's great. It's the same dynamic. It's the same Lou calling Wiggum out on his bullshit.
Right.
Which technically wasn't really the first Wiggum Lou Corner, but it works because it's tied directly into the plot. It just comes and goes.
Yeah.
We're not panning over. It's not like a 30 Rock pan swipe.
Sure.
It's part of the scene, and it comes
and it makes
there.
makes sense.
And then there's a Wiggum thing after that's not Wiggum Lou Corner, but one of the worst things I've ever seen in the show.
Just why did we not cut to black much sooner? Because Wiggum just kind of rambles about the word hijinks.
Yeah, he's like, we gotta get you. We're gonna punish you for your hijinks. Hijinks.
That's a great word.
That's a funny word.
3 dots in a row.
And some people don't hyphenate.
Some people hyphenate it. In my day, we used to. It just goes on.
Kids these days, they hyphenate everything.
Yeah.
And then they lampshade it they realize now this rant is just becoming this own little, what's the deal?
Yeah,
right.
And
so they lampshade it by Wiggum just going, help me out here, Eddie. Jump in anytime, Eddie. These are good topics. Which isn't not funny. But again, this whole thing shouldn't even exist.
No, I completely agree. It was just weird. And I wrote, what the hell is happening?
This is maybe the epitome of what we've been talking about for 90 episodes now with this weird wordplay humor.
Yeah,
they're pointing out. I guess
there's some wordplay.
Isn't it funny that hijinks has 3 dots next 3 dotted letters? IJI.
It's taking
what's the deal with hyphens?
It's taking up a lot of time in the episode, but they're not saying anything. Like it's not especially funny. It's not any kind of relevance to anything.
The episode
dead.
Cold.
Yeah. And then it just cuts and then it's on deck 2.
That was Wiggum Lou Corner.
Woohoo! Let's remember this episode was May 2003. Okay, this maybe is the first that I can think of Wiggum and Lou Corner episode. So let's see if we get one that's earlier.
Yeah, it's certainly early,
and we'll see. All right, so the second act kind of begins, and we got So the second act kind of starts, and we have the cops arresting the boys. We're still in the Beatles room. This is when Flanders says the bigger than Jesus thing. And Marge has a line where she says, "Boys will be boys. I'm so tired of that tautology," which is not a bad line.
They also used it,
like it
one season earlier with the sheriff in Florida, spring break. "Boys will be boys." Diedrich Bader.
Oh yeah, he said, well, not the tautology part to the line. I thought that was cute. And, you know, whatever.
That to me, that's more wordplay, word for word. Hey, we're using tautology.
Yeah, I guess it is. But I didn't hate it. Let's put that in there.
That's fine. I did hate Homer starts playing with the Beatles bobbleheads. He just starts hitting them like bongos and says, "Look at me, I'm
Brian Epstein.
Right,
the fifth Beatle.
Yeah, and then he goes, "No, I'm Michael Jackson. I own all your songs." So what is this?
Yeah, he just like stands back and he's watching.
If you don't know, at the time when Michael Jackson was alive,
he
owned the Beatles catalog. So what? Who cares? What? That's not a joke.
It's just
I'm doing a really bad Michael Jackson, and I'm not doing Jack right now. I'm doing Dan Castellaneta doing not a great Michael Jackson.
Right.
And look at me, I'm Michael Jackson. What is that? What is it? You're just pointing things. You're just pointing out facts.
It's we're doing a Beatles thing, so let's put in everything people know about the Beatles.
Not a joke,
people
though.
know that.
Those are just words.
Yeah, it was not great.
Let's go, boys. Make sure you use pine sol on those pine trees for that pine fresh smell.
Papa?
Oh, for God's sakes, I can see why he left.
So, we get the boys will be boys thing, and Marge splits up Bart and Milhouse like we were talking about, and Marge and Homer are looking at brochures for activities for Bart to get involved with. All of them are really just kind of Boy Scouts parodies in some way. Yeah. He winds up with the Preteen Braves, which is this Native American-derived thing, but I liked they had a thing for the 5-H Club, and Homer's like, 5-H? And they're like, yeah, they had to let in homosexuals. Not terrible.
Yeah, and then Homer just did like a nod, yeah, that makes sense.
Homer does like a knowing nod, which I kind of like that, actually. It was better than Homer doing literally anything else.
Yeah. It was if you're going to do a 4-H joke, that was a good one.
Right. And they ultimately do join the Preteen Braves. So you got Bart, Database, Nelson, and Ralph. Mm-hmm. And like you said before, Homer is kind of, at first, the leader, the chief, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know how offensive this is to actual Native Americans. I mean, probably, you know.
It's certainly appropriating their culture, but it's...
But they do lampshade that a little bit at some point where they're like, you know, we're using the indigenous cultures, and then later they make a reference about how the Indians always won.
I feel like it's just...
a lie.
There's almost... those poor people have had it just so bad and still have it so bad to this day. There's like, that's the last thing they're concerned with is how the Preteen Braves is treated.
Yeah.
You got major sports teams still doing it, and pipelines being put in their back home in their homes and being shot for protesting about it. I don't think they care about the season 14.
All right. Well, if they don't care, then we won't care. But speaking of long-suffering people who watch The Simpsons have to suffer through long, extended drum solos that Homer does.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It went on so long. He's got the what would you call it? I don't even know. Like a Native American style drum.
That's exactly what I would call it. The Native American style drum.
Whatever. He's banging the drum, and now he says extended drum solo, and I'm like, oh no, are they going to like do a minute of drum solo? And they do.
He just hits. He runs around the backyard. He's hitting things. Now again.
Painful, very long.
If the Simpsons writers or the producers are right now listening to this and going, why didn't they like that? What's wrong with that? I will tell you what's wrong with that. We're just staring there and watching it, and then we're not laughing because it's not visually like laugh out loud funny.
Yeah,
it's not visually interesting in any way.
Right,
it's not pushing a story forward in any way. It's just there. It's just there.
There's a type of humor that Family Guy probably started where it was just, how long will this go on? That's the joke, is like, we're doing something and the joke is it's going to be long.
I don't even think that was this. I don't
even think I think you're right.
Family Guy type jokes is usually it's something there is an element of humor to it. Like the one I think of is when Peter hurts his knee.
Yeah.
He's and he just does that, and then something like that, it stops being funny. Then it gets funny. Well, Simpsons did it 10 years earlier with the rake.
With the rakes, yeah.
That's different. That's
true.
This isn't. Oh my God, he's still drumming. It's still drumming. Or maybe maybe that is what they were trying to do. If that's the case, then it wasn't long enough.
I think they're what they're going for.
Then it wasn't long enough.
Right, and it's not visually interesting enough.
The only joke I think that was in it was he hits Ralph's head and it makes it sound like an empty coconut because Ralph has no brain.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What is this?
The exact opposite of something that went on too long. Something that was too short.
The fake names?
The fake names. Homer has a fishbowl full of names, and he says, we're going to pick our Preteen Brave names. and
like Dances with Wolves and stuff.
Right, and Nelson reaches in and he gets burgers with fries,
which I think is funny.
I thought it was really funny.
It's got with in it, like Dances with Wolves. Yeah,
but that's it.
Homer.
And then that's it. Yeah, we don't get any other names.
The rule of one.
Yeah. It was weird.
The classic comic rule of one.
I was like, oh man, if that's the first one, what's the second one going to be? And then there's nothing.
Yeah, and then it just stops. They had to cut it because they needed more drum time.
Yeah. But then Homer brings them inside to just watch football. There's this long thing where it's the Chiefs beat the Cowboys, which
it went on forever.
It's cute. It's more cute than funny, in my opinion.
And again, it wasn't really making me laugh out loud, so why spend any more time with it than I have to? Lisa and Marge poked their head in. Lisa is like, this is offensive to Native American culture.
Right.
I find that funny because last Thanksgiving we did an episode where Lisa
co-opted Native American culture.
And didn't do a great job of it, and just I think also talked about maize. Simpsons love bringing up maize.
Yeah, they really do.
They think it's really funny that corn can also be called maize, and by certain cultures,
look at these fucking idiots calling it maize. It's corn.
Isn't that funny?
Jerks.
Well, they're highbrow. Simpsons is highbrow. South Park is lowbrow. Family Guy they say corn.
Right.
Simpsons is highbrow humor.
Maize.
They say maize.
Look at the maize.
I read about it in the New York Times. I read my maize comics.
Do you read the op-ed about maize?
Do you know who my favorite baseball player is?
Who is it, Jack?
Willie Mays.
Oh, God.
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
So then Marge and Lisa pop their heads in and they think, Homer's not doing a great job, so they're going to take over. They start doing smoke signals, and there's this weird cutaway gag that I liked where you can see the smoke signals, and we cut to Mr. Burns looking over his balcony, and he sees the smoke, and he says to Smithers, "Oh no, the Pawnee have returned. They probably want their souls back."
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny.
A great Burns, one and done, and it's a great Burns. Of course, Burns would own the souls of an entire Native American tribe. Yeah,
absolutely.
Fine. Yeah,
absolutely. So I like that a lot. And then we get to a really great bit.
One of my all-time favorite post-classic bits we've covered on the show.
Yeah, where... I forget how does that actually lead in?
They say Nelson put on these these breeches, and Nelson's like, I can't put on these breeches. If my dad sees me in them, he's gonna disown me.
They were like leather pants with tassels or suede pants, maybe.
And he's like, if my dad sees them, he'll disown me. And Bart's like, you haven't seen your dad in 10 years. Your dad ran off and never came back, which is a running thing with Nelson.
Yep. And then Nelson says, today might be the day he comes back.
Which by itself is a hilarious joke. The fact that he is always prepping.
Always waiting for that one day.
Just in case his dad. And because there's something so real about it.
He's just, definitely.
He really wants his dad to come back, and they're saying it, but they're not like I just really want my dad to come back so bad that I'm actually prepared. They're not right. It's not him dancing in a circle going cartoon violence.
Yeah.
But it's just so that by itself is funny. But then they use this.
And then it builds
violin music that is such a funny musical cue for this setup.
Well, because Nelson gets genuinely sad, and then he turns and he sees his father.
There's an old-timey drama to it because he calls him Papa.
Yeah.
And like the music, the Papa, there's just some it's almost like they're joking on this old-timey idea of like a
Nelson's a bully,
father.
You never see it's always funny when Nelson is like heartfelt and like, oh, Papa.
But he's exactly, but it's not just heartfelt for heartfelt's sake. It's got a distinct tone and character to it.
Yes,
that's consistent every time they do this joke.
Yeah,
and so it's not just this episode, but in this episode, it's.
But Nelson turns and he sees his father, and he goes over to embrace him. And he says,
runs
Papa,
and hugs
never
him.
leave me. He's hugging him and kissing him. And then we see it's actually just a tree. And they're all just like, Marge is like, oh, look at Nelson hugging that tree.
Everybody's just awkwardly staring at him. It's perfectly framed. They're in the background. They're looking at him as he's kissing this tree.
And he's kissing the tree, and they slowly just kind of walk away.
What's great is, because there's going to be another great callback to this, is it's not just a one-note joke. It's not just, oh, Nelson thinks his father's a tree. There's also this other thing. There's like an arc almost to this joke about Marge's Marge eventually just lose patience with it.
Right.
Because at first she's very supportive. She's like, oh, let's celebrate Nelson's love of nature, which is fine joke.
Yep.
But then he keeps kissing the tree. He's like kissing the bark out. She goes, all right, everybody, let's just go inside. And she awkwardly, so that's funny. And then later on, I guess we'll just talk about it now.
Yeah, sure.
Later on, they're in a forest and they just walk into the forest, and out of nowhere, Nelson just sees a tree and goes, Papa,
and
the
there's
music
the same
comes in.
music build.
There's no setup. It's just basically they jump right into it because we're already there. We don't need it.
It's a perfect
and,
callback.
And it cuts back to Marge. Just goes, oh, for Christ's sake!
And now I see why he left.
Yeah, exactly. Like this escalation of Marge, and like to say something that horrible.
Yeah.
I see why he left.
I loved it. It was so good.
It's just such a nice, tight little gag.
Yeah. So now Marge is leading the preteen Braves, which I liked. I was like, oh, we haven't seen this before. Marge trying to lead a junior campers, Boy Scouts type thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't last so long, but we get a little bit.
She does a good job of it. Basically.
She does a good job. Yeah, she leads them into the forest, and they meet with a Mohican man
played by Harry Shearer.
Yeah.
Which, you can't get a Native American.
Look, he had like maybe 2 lines. It was just a throwaway.
That
scene.
doesn't really bother me. What did make me think of is it's funny that Springfield, this eclectic cast of characters of every walk of life, they don't have a Native American go-to.
They don't.
They
it's
have
kind of
the
odd.
2 guys from Bonanza. Weren't there 3 last year? But it's funny because you mentioned Burns owning the souls of the Pawnee.
Yeah.
Pawnee is the town in Parks and
Parks and Rec,
Recreation.
yeah.
And Pawnee is maybe the closest we've ever gotten to a live-action Springfield.
Yeah.
Which it had just these eclectic,
personalities and characters.
Yeah, over-the-top tertiary personalities. Sure. And they had a Native American recurring character who wasn't just Native American for Native American's sake. He had his like one-note jokes that was what they would go to. It was very, very Springfieldian in the way they did their characters. Yeah. And it's just funny that how does Springfield not do it? 30 seasons.
It's odd, and it would be weird now to introduce a Native American character.
Yeah, I mean,
the time to introduce new characters in Springfield has passed. Yeah,
but season 30,
they're going to introduce that great new character,
Freet Goldberg. I'm here. No, that's our character.
I thought I was going to get to be on the Simpsons.
This is Freet Johnson.
Freet Johnson.
I'm a Simpsons character. I'm not a bus stop character.
You back off. There's only one Freet in this part of town.
I'm here to be really super textual about cartoon violence. Punch, punch, punch.
No, you have to be more subtle.
Bro, I ripped your head off. You're dead now.
Oh, no!
I killed Freet. There can only be one Freet, and it's this one.
I have news for you, Freet Johnson. I have now the power to resurrect the dead. Freet, you will have a second life. All right. Next week, next episode, Freet will return.
He's back, folks.
It takes 2 weeks for him to come back.
They get it. He's back. Let's move on. Technically, that was the Dracula. DiCaprio's dead. We didn't break our rule.
I don't know if that's in. I don't know if that's cut. I don't know what we're doing anymore.
That's it. I cut everything else. It's just that.
Let's do that one day. We'll say the loud part quiet, the quiet part loud. So this Mohican guy is talking about how Springfield used to be, and there's this great visual gag where we see what Springfield would be like without all the pollution, with all these animals running around. And there's this one thing I just absolutely loved. There's this giant elk or moose or some kind of antlered animal, and a bunch of birds land on his antlers, and then the birds just carry him away.
Eat him,
and he's confused. His confused face just was priceless to me.
Again, it shows you that they're taking some time and care for these gags, where it's not they're not just like throwing it in, just like going through the motions. If they're going through the motions, if the birds would just swoop in and take the fact that they're putting themselves into the moose's head and going, the moose would be confused.
I loved it.
Yeah, no,
it was good visual, and then they cut back to what is actually Springfield looks like now, and it's just garbage everywhere. Homer backs the car up and drops a treadmill into the water, which was whatever. Yeah. He says like, I'm returning it to nature. Not terrible, but not especially good.
It's no moose being carried off by birds.
Yeah, no, it's very few jokes rise to moose bird standards.
And this is where we meet the Cavalry Kids.
Yes, so this is Marge. They're in the woods and they're using pine sol on the trees. That's when Nelson does the thing. It was whatever. It was fine.
Pine sol, pines. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and then we pan over and there's a rival group, the Cavalry Kids, being led by Kirk Van Houten. Yeah. It was Milhouse. It was Jimbo. It was Martin, and then it was some weird-looking kid who we think might have been one of the Super Friends.
Yeah,
right?
He was an Asian boy.
Asian?
Yeah, and at first I thought he would. I mean,
he looked like
not
Mr.
that all
Burns.
Asians look alike.
He looked like Mr. Burns as a child.
I thought maybe he was the one that is in the season 2 essay contest in Washington, D.C.
Okay, yeah.
USA all the way? Or
USA A-OK.
A-OK, that's right. At first
Sean
I thought it was
Van
him,
Din,
but then I
his
thought,
name?
I think he's from the Super Friends.
He could have
Bart's
been.
comment, either Cosine or not Cosine. Cosine's the big one that looks like Dilbert, right?
Yes. Your
report-
name will be Cosmos.
Report card or...
Email.
Yeah.
And Lisa.
Maybe it was email. I think, but it's basically, I guess they needed counterparts. Jimbo to Nelson,
Right.
Ralph to Martin.
Right, Bart and Milhouse.
So I guess for database they needed somebody else.
Somebody
even
else
though
from the Super
database
Friends.
is the only super friend that became a recurring character after
Sure.
that scene.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's so many other Springfield Elementary characters. You couldn't find somebody else, a girl, put in one of the Sherry or Terrys for
What about
reason.
what were their names? Lewis and Richard, like Bart's friends from like season 1 that we never see anymore.
Wendell
Wendell. Well, maybe Wendell died.
of leukemia?
Yeah, it could have happened.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very weird choice. And later in the fight scene that we'll get to in the thing, the Asian kid does a roundhouse kick.
Yes. Was he Asian? I don't know if he was Asian.
He did karate, Dan.
Well, hey now.
But that's my point. That's really like, come on. He had also no karate on top of everything else.
Yeah, I don't know.
The reason I think he was Asian was because he had the Asian haircut that's all Springfield like.
Oh, that all Asians have, Jack? Is that what you're going to say? Is that what you're going to say?
No, because you're putting me in a corner here. Nobody puts baby in a racist corner. No, it's basically they draw their Asian characters very similar.
Okay,
and they all have a very straight haircut that it's like I think they have like a Simpsons character
I think
model.
you're drawing unfavorable comparisons to every racist character ever.
I see race.
All right. I see Asian people.
No, I really do think it was like that was their stock Asian type character that
It could have been. It could have been. But I love Kirk is the leader of the cavalry kids, and they're picking up trash in the woods
with those sticks.
With those sticks with the points out the end, and he stabs a turtle, and he's like, "Oh, that turtle was old; it was going to die anyway." And he like throws the turtle away, and then stamps again and kills a skunk.
Yeah,
I love that. That was very funny.
Physically, it was very funny, and it was a great Kirk line. He goes, "Oh man, someone woke up on the wrong side of a futon."
The futon, yeah. I like
just
that.
A nice little
That's a fine
pathetic
little
single dad.
Yeah, Kirk is pathetic.
So they all face off just to really highlight the fact that they're all each other's doppelganger counterparts.
Right.
Nelson faces off with, these are all close-ups. Nelson faces off with Jimbo. Bart faces off with Milhouse. Ralph faces off with ... a wolf. Then he just goes, "Are you my new mommy?" And the wolf just picks up Ralph.
Picks him up by the nape of his neck and just carries him away.
It was adorable. I love animal animation. Just a wolf carrying Ralph away.
I think Ralph said, "Your breath smells like dead bunnies" or
Yeah,
something like that.
I didn't need it.
I didn't need that. The visual of Ralph being carried away by his neck by a wolf was great
and
enough.
I just like the it's pretty much the same as the bears in season 1.
Yeah.
But I like the tacit consent that the wolf's like, "Okay, I will raise you.
I will just raise this child now. This is my life."
But yeah, this sets off the rivalry, which besides the montage and then the candy sale, it really there's really nothing to it. It's really a shame. This is where they could have brought back, again, you had that falling out with Bart and Milhouse in the beginning. You didn't, but
right.
in our version,
right.
you do.
Yeah.
And then you don't have Milhouse for another act. That's fine. If you bring him back at this point, it brings it all together. You could have had them really go head to head, but it doesn't. It really becomes more about Marge isn't good at rivalry, so Homer takes over.
This is definitely when things get muddled because the episode, it really should be, we're driving the point home. It's going to be the Cavalry Kids versus the Preteen Braves, and it's sort of there, but it's not as tight as I think it could have been. What happens is the Cavalry Kids make it the front page of the paper, the Cavalry Kids cleaning up the forest.
Even though they were there, the Native Americans were there first.
Right, the Preteen Braves were there first. Lisa had actually even called in Dave Sherman, very rarely seen season 1 or 2 character.
Who are you? Why? What are you doing here?
And he was going to cover them for the paper, but the Cavalry Kids get it instead. I loved the sub-headline on the newspaper was President Shoots Wife.
Yeah.
Love that.
It was like, what? It's random. President Shoots Wife. Also,
I like that.
Although it'll be dated if Hillary had won by the time this airs.
That's true.
Which I hope so. I have a feeling she didn't.
We'll know by the time.
This is a dystopia.
We're recording this before Election Day. We'll know by the time this episode comes out. So we'll
or
see.
if the episode never came out because we were already nuked ourselves to oblivion, then we also know who won.
Happen. It could definitely happen.
But I also did like the Sherman joke where he goes, "I've already got the perfect headline for this: activity done by some."
Yeah, yeah, that was a good line. So then so now we've established that there's this rival group, and it does something really weird now, where it just cuts to Dredrick Tatum on TV.
Yeah.
just in a baseball stadium, just talking to a camera, just saying the youth group that sells the most chocolate bars gets to do something at the stadium.
Yeah. It's here's the exposition with no buffer,
zero context at all, and they just happen to be watching it, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we're going to participate in this cross youth group chocolate sale." There's no details. There's no
professional
sense.
boxer.
Yeah, a professional boxer at a baseball stadium. It doesn't make I
don't know.
Like, that could have been done slightly better. Maybe get rid of the drum solo bit and put, 30 seconds just explaining where this comes from.
I was thrown off because they're watching it from the family room.
Yeah.
And I was like, first of all, is there a TV in the family room? I guess
no. Well, there's usually just a fireplace.
Right?
I think sometimes they bring the TV into that room.
So already wheels were spinning. I was like, why are they in the family room? And I go, okay, anytime they're in the family room when they eat, could just as well be in the living room. That means they're going to have to incorporate something from the front house of the window. Because the family room is in the front. It's when you first walk in the front door. It's the room to the left. It's where that, whatever you call it, when the window sticks out a bit.
Bay window.
Bay window. So it always has to incorporate somebody looking outside and seeing Gerald across the street, something like that.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, what's it going to be? And I was right. And I was like, oh, I guess that rule is pretty much 100% consistent.
Yeah.
If they're in their family room when they're supposed to be in the living room, something is going to happen.
They're going to get a visitor. And they do.
Yeah, and they do. Ralph comes through the window.
Yes, Ralph is thrown through the window with a note on him like he's a rock, which I liked. I thought that was fine. And it was a threat from the Cavalry Kids, right?
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it actually said. It was basically like, we're going to win the candy competition or whatever it was.
It's just more exposition. Just like, hey, we're setting up these stakes because they didn't bother actually putting any story in.
Right.
They had
just
to spell
shoving
it
it all in now. And it definitely could have been better, but this is what we got. So
it would have been like you might as well just cut to scrolling Star Wars text and just explain. And then
a chocolate
great
contest.
Rivalry starts. Yeah. It's so lazy.
Pretty much, but we're well into this episode. The episode is nearly over, and now we're finally getting the war in the Bart of War. Bart and Homer put laxatives in all the candy that Milhouse's group is going to sell. And that's kind of the first big prank. It's kind of the only big prank, though.
Because Marge didn't cut it for rivalry, so they had to use Homer. Again, this shouldn't be anything. It should be Bart versus Milhouse. Bart should have came up with the laxative idea.
Yes.
This is the very Bart thing to do, in fact.
Well, it's a very late-era Simpsons thing to do, to shove Homer into all the places.
Bart backs up a 18-wheeler into the garage somehow.
Yeah.
That could have been Homer. Not saying much, just Bart using Homer for his truck driving skills.
Right, you're right. That's a good point, because it did seem like Homer using Bart instead of Bart using Homer.
Because it was.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it. It was.
Yeah, like Homer wanted to win.
Yeah, no,
even though he has very little reason to.
I mean, again, Bart has no reason to hate Milhouse except that he's in a rival group.
Right.
But if they had actually done the job
if they had done that in the first act, that would have been much better. So they're selling them outside the Quickie Mart with laxatives in them.
Lenny and Carl come up.
Hey,
mister, you want to buy a candy bar for $2? And Lenny, was it Lenny or Carl?
I think Carl said, I was going to go inside, but I'll pay out here with more money for the same thing.
I was going to go and buy it for less inside.
Right.
Which is funny because charity candy is always very expensive.
Right. Well,
it tastes better.
It's charity.
It tastes
better.
That
world's finest chocolate.
Those McDonald's bars.
Fine. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. World's finest.
Mm-hmm. It is the world's finest. I thought it was called world's finest because it was Batman and Superman teaming up to make the chocolate.
That's true, yeah.
But no, it's just very good chocolate.
Two mothers named Martha make all that chocolate.
Why do you make that chocolate?
They put the laxatives in the candy, and then they're selling the regular candy. Not much actually happens. Eventually, there's a joke where they did sell all the laxative candy to the retirement castle, and
the Cavalry Kids,
the Cavalry Kids, and they cut to Grandpa, and he's just you see all the empty chocolate everywhere, and he just goes, "Oh, I'm moving like Ginger Rogers."
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
And basically, the Cavalry Kids still win the contest because the laxatives actually worked in their favor. We also skipped over, we mentioned a few times, there is a montage of them doing pranks before that have nothing to do with the candy contest. They're just out scouting each other, basically.
Yeah, it was helping old people. There was some kind of motorcycle driving thing. It was nothing. I don't remember any of it because it wasn't very good.
Unlike the drums thing, there were jokes in this. They just weren't funny. It was just kind of there for there. It was like it needed to be Doomsday. It was basically placeholder jokes.
Yeah. I even wrote in my notes that this candy drive thing moved real quick because we get the laxative scene and then the next scene is Mayor Quimby announcing the winner of the candy drive.
It's the Rocky IV of structures. You have all the Rocky movies are great. Yeah. Rocky IV, very fun movie to watch. But Rocky IV has no movie. It's literally just the best of the other movies. It's the robot scene first.
I was just going to say, Paulie has a robot.
But then basically it's boxing match, montage, training montage, boxing match. That's the entire movie.
Yeah.
So the A plot is this rivalry, and it basically starts, like we said, halfway through the episode where they meet in the forest, and then it goes montage of them being rivals, candy sale, climax. It's just those 3 scenes. That's it.
Pretty much, yeah. And they should have brought Dolph Lundgren in because that improved Rocky IV.
He's giving me an arrow. He looks.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
I'm way behind on Arrow.
I am.
He's playing like Vigilante or something.
I don't know the name. Boss Bardo. I don't watch Arrow. I'm just a huge Dolph Lundgren fan.
Yeah. Who isn't Jack?
He like if you don't know anything about him, like glance at his Wikipedia. Fascinating guy.
He's a very interesting person. Yeah. But this isn't our Dolph Lundgren cast.
It's not.
It's not.
No. So they win the candy contest because of laxatives, and Milhouse has a line I really liked. He goes, "It looks like for once the Indians didn't win."
Yeah, I like that.
It's very. It's a very easy joke. He's just saying the opposite of what's true, but it's funny. It's Milhouse's delivery. It works.
And what did you think of, so we're in the town square where Quimby's announcing the winner, and you have the Cavalry Kids, the preteen Braves, and also the Junior Dandies, who apparently lost. You weren't a fan of the Junior Dandies?
Didn't do much for me.
Their
one joke was when they lost, they went, "Oh my," and passed out.
I kind of liked it. Maybe I just like foppish dandy humor.
I mean, foppish dandies are funny, but it did nothing for me.
All right. So Milhouse wins the competition, and he and the gang and Kirk are driving to Duff Stadium to do whatever it is Dredrick Tatum is letting them do. I don't even know. And Homer and
sing
Bart,
the national anthem.
Right. Oh, they were going to sing the national anthem before the baseball game.
Not the Radiohead song. It wasn't. I'm just going to go.
I really think we should replace our national anthem with that.
I think you really think we should stop doing our Simpsons podcast and just sing national anthem.
Sure, let's just do that. Everyone
Freak Goldberg, singer of Radiohead.
Tom York is my cousin. By the way, I'm alive again. I don't know if that's cut. I don't know if that's in.
Who knows?
This is why we're doing it early, so you can make these decisions in time. All right. So, yeah, they're on their way to the stadium. Kirk's driving, and Homer has put up a sign that says free VIP parking and just an arrow pointing away. It was an odd prank. Yeah. Because I thought that the arrow would point to somewhere else. Yeah. And instead, Kirk just drives away.
Yeah, and doesn't fall.
Like there's really no payoff to that bit.
Yeah, there's no pay, and it's just lazy.
Like we see him driving down the street against a sign that says Duff Stadium 10 miles the opposite direction. I thought he would drive into like a swamp or like an alligator pit or something.
Yeah, do something creative where he like a Rube Goldberg or something. He drives a magnet, like there's a magnet truck, and the magnet picks up the car and drops the car.
And he's like, oh, this is fancy VIP parking. Yeah, something like that.
There's
there's nothing like that.
It's almost like they found out that they needed a new Simpsons episode in 6 hours, and they just
they just quickly, first draft it.
Yeah, man, it's still so lazy. And then there's another sign gag because Bart's like, "How is this going to work?" And Homer's like, "Oh well,
people will do anything a sign tells them." Yeah, and then he sees the Duff beer sign, and he's like, and he just pulls out a Duff, and he's like, that satiated my thirst. And then he walks and sees another one, have another Duff. So he's like, or did it? And he drinks another one.
It's too superficial. It was too on the nose.
Right.
I did like, as I've been on record on the show as I love baseball, but I don't mind jokes about how lame baseball is.
Sure.
And, I like Quimby reading, thank you for supporting America's greatest national pastime, baseball. Like he's surprised that baseball.
Baseball is fine. I like that. So the preteen Braves group, they dress up like the Cavalry Kids.
To sing the national anthem.
Bart puts on Milhouse's glasses and fake eyebrows.
I like that look.
I liked the look.
Bart as Milhouse.
But they didn't do anything with it.
No.
Like, Bart is just pretending to be Milhouse. The other three aren't pretending to be the other three. So why even bother with that?
Because obviously the entire crowd, they know Milhouse.
They can recognize Milhouse from the stands of a baseball stadium.
Oh, he's got blue eyebrows? Okay, everything's kosher.
Yeah, because then he takes his hat off and he's just got Bart's hair. It was just an odd beat to put in there. So they sing a fake national anthem song where they're just like... No,
I didn't like it.
They sing fake lyrics. I didn't even understand. I couldn't even understand what they were saying.
It was 4 high-pitched, shrieking kids' voices.
Yeah.
I get that it's never going to sound good with those 4 characters singing, but I still didn't like it.
But it was jokes like, baseball's stupid. It was just like, it was whatever. It went on a while.
The crowd gets offended.
The crowd starts rioting against them and just saying like, this
But then Kirk drives onto the field.
Well, actually, Lenny had a line where he just goes, hey, show some respect. My dad died in some war. Yeah. I love that. That's a great line.
Nice little subversive line about Americans. It's so easy. You don't have to have this whole complicated thing to make us laugh.
Yeah.
But don't just have have Kirk drive off nowhere or do drums for a minute.
Yeah, but then the the cavalry kids, whatever the fuck they're called,
junior campers,
they come back, and then it starts a fight. Like there's an actual
Kirk
brawl.
Come back? We don't even see him realize the mistake.
Idea.
There's no joke that could have made him realize.
No joke. It's just they come back.
Maybe he's such an inept driver that he accidentally actually turned drove
that would have been
in a circle and did the right thing by doing the wrong thing.
That would have been interesting.
Nothing. They just it's like a
it's
Deus
just, he's
Ex,
back because they need to be
yeah.
here because it's the end of the episode.
And
they just start fighting.
Yeah, and it just turns out into a fist fight, which, again, if there was emotional stakes...
Yeah, it turns into a stadium-wide brawl. Everyone's fighting.
Yeah, all the Springfield regular pairs, like Patty and Selma, Krusty and Teeny, they all fight each other, and there's a great gag where it's Dredrick Tatum versus Mo. They're like panning across the stadium, and they just land on Mo and Dredrick Tatum, and Mo just goes, "Oh, geez, how did this happen?"
Yeah, and that's great.
And you're not showing anything, like you're just showing
there's no
the
rape
calm
cults.
before the storm.
I love it.
Yeah, there's no rape. It's just that's how you do Mo. It's really funny, and you're not showing too much. You're showing just enough.
It's all we need to get the laugh.
Let our imagination to do the rest.
Exactly.
Because later they do show Dredrick Tatum beating Mo. It's like, oh God,
yeah, a little much. All I needed was, oh geez, how did this happen?
Let our imagination do the rest of just Dredrick Tatum pounding Mo.
Yeah,
instead of Mo pounding asleep women. Or whatever
God!
He does.
Luckily they didn't show that.
But yeah, it's just like what Mr. Plinkett says about the prequels lightsaber scenes. The choreography is amazing, but they don't mean anything.
There's no reason.
Yeah, there's no reason for them to do it. There's no emotional stakes between the two characters. So if they had set up some kind of thing between Bart and Milhouse, besides the fact that they were forced into rival camps, tribes, against their will, they didn't even want to be in them.
Right.
Then who cares that they're fighting?
None of it matters. None of it matters at all. One thing I did kind of like,
crying like, "Why'd you throw me under the bus? I've always been there for you. I've always been loyal. Why would you? How could you do that to me?" That would make every little flailing fist
make it mean a lot more. Yeah. But then it goes to, like we said before, the Sea Captain and Sideshow Mel, who are fighting with Mel's bone and the Sea Captain's like peg leg.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. And they're the ones who are like, we should stop. And then they get ready to sing. Yeah. And I tensed up a little bit. I think you did too.
I thought it was going to be a musical number.
That's what I
by
thought.
The Springfielders about
living in harmony.
About living in harmony. And I was just like, oh boy.
And in a sense it was, but instead they're like, let's all sing the national anthem, but not the American national anthem.
And not the Radiohead national anthem.
And not the Radiohead song, which had come in 2 years prior to this episode.
Wow, yeah.
Or 3 years, actually. But they sing the Canadian national anthem.
Yeah, O Canada.
O Canada.
Which is not O-H-O Canada. It's O as in the French word of to. I don't know what the context is for O Canada.
O Canada.
It can be all those words.
So they sing the Canadian national anthem.
I didn't like this.
They make a maple leaf on the field.
I get that it was like...
And it was fine.
I thought it was just too... Ain't I a stinker, like we said on the Ricky Gervais. It's like, look at us. They're singing the Canadian national anthem. Look how wacky we are.
We're subverting expectations.
Yeah, exactly. It was almost too obvious, even though it's not obvious.
The episode went out with a whimper, I would say.
Yeah.
And this really could have been a very good episode. It's not a bad episode. I think the rankings are going to show that.
It's barely an episode. It's
It's just it really could have been a lot tighter.
Just the simple thing of just having Bart and Milhouse be the focal points and be the center of these two rivalries.
Yeah, but I didn't hate it. I didn't hate this episode.
No, I didn't hate it. I'm just really disappointed at how easy a fix it is. You've got this staff of paid writers. This is their full-time job to make this episode, and it's such an easy fix. We're not asking them to make The Simpsons the greatest show ever again. We're not. Right. I mean, we are. But in this very
make Simpsons great again.
Yeah,
that's all we're asking for.
Yeah, it was great before. It's not great now.
I might be president by the time you're listening to this.
It's not funny.
It's not funny.
It's really sad and scary.
Cut this out if that happens.
He might ban that.
We might be in some hot water.
Sedition Act.
No,
it's just.
It is.
We're not asking them to. We're not asking them to reboot the show. You have an easy fix. Yeah, just sit in a room for 8 hours and fix it.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really ridiculous for two nobodies to say, "Oh, just fix it," but
just make it good.
It wouldn't. We just told you why it wouldn't be that. Even if you don't nail it, it would be better. It would be better.
There were ways this episode clearly could have been better. Yeah,
like obvious ways.
And I think that's going to do it for the Bart of War.
Welcome, fans of America's favorite pastime, baseball.
All right, Jack. So it is time to rank this episode, and to do that, we're going to use our patented Hippo scale. That is the HIPO, the humor, the integrity, the production value, and the originality of the episode. So we're going to put 2 minutes on the clock. I'm sure people are going to love that. So 2 minutes on
Tom
the clock.
York is like, no, my favorite podcast. They finally made me a target.
We're coming for you, York. So 2 minutes on the clock. We got a 0 to 5 scale. Jack, the humor of this episode, what do you got?
Nelson gag was really good. There's a few good gags we like. Again, I'm trying to stay out of these 3s and 4s. Like, I think we were grading too easy back in the first season.
I don't agree.
Because 4 or 5 funny jokes still are nothing compared to the first 8 seasons where you had 4 or 5 great jokes in a minute.
You're right. Most of the first 8 seasons would be high 4s and 5s probably, but I think I'll go out of turn. I'm thinking of a 3 or a 3.5 on this episode. This is a funny episode that doesn't come together as a story, but there's a lot to like in this episode.
I'm thinking 2.53.
All right. Okay, the integrity of this episode. Here's where we may see some dings. What are you thinking?
There is none. This is where you could have had Bart and Milhouse. There would have been emotional stakes. There would have been...
right. There's a lot of Marge stuff in this episode that I like and is true to character.
Yeah,
even
she has
Homer
nothing
isn't
to do with
terrible.
The episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Flanders being a Beatles fan. No, it's a real shame that this could have had a 5 in integrity if they stuck the landing and had this be Bart versus Milhouse, the ultimate battle, not the Biclops fist fight for fist fight's sake.
Right.
What makes Bart tick versus what makes Milhouse.
Bart versus
which
Milhouse.
I guess the Biclops episode is a little bit. He's sick of being the sidekick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't have any of that. So I'm going to say that completely cancels out whatever work they did with these side characters, Homer and Marge and Flanders. 2.
I'm thinking I'm going to right down the middle, 2.5. I think, not especially terrible, but a lot of room for improvement.
I really should go less just because the potential that
there's room for improvement, but I don't think it was
so
actively
much
bad. So I'm going to give it right in the middle.
But it's really disappointing, this lack of potential.
Production values, I want to give it a 5 just for that baby in the couch gag. I really love that. The way that baby looked.
The baby in the couch gag, the look on the moose.
I'm not actually going to give it a 5, but I am going to give it probably pretty high.
The Beatles room.
Yeah.
The Nelson gag, like we said, the direction of that gag is what made it could have easily fell flat and been eye-rolling.
And you just named a few of them, but this is an episode that had a lot of visual gags, and more importantly, visual gags that worked and that I liked. So I think I'm going to go kind of high. I don't know. What are you thinking?
3.5, maybe 4?
That's exactly where I'm at. I'm going to say 3.5. Maybe we'll fudge it up to 4. We'll see. And finally, the originality of this episode. Also looking at the storytelling. What do you think,
Structurally,
Jack?
it's kind of broken. I wouldn't have minded the second half being the rivalry. Well, even if you did have the Bart Milhouse stuff set up, it still kind of wasn't enough. Like I said, it was Rocky IV. It was introduction, montage, candy sale, climax. There was nothing in between.
Yeah. It could have been better.
Somewhat of an original idea. Again,
they've done the Junior Campers before. We've done Bart versus Milhouse kind of before.
Yeah.
We've done.
It wasn't Homer and Marge have marriage troubles. It wasn't. It wasn't the most unoriginal.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking right down the middle again, 2.5.
Yeah, maybe 2, just because the structure needed some buffering,
some cleaning up. Okay, so we have crunched our numbers, and Season 14's The Bart of War has ranked pretty high, Jack. It is a slightly better episode than The Book Job, and a slightly worse episode than Homer Simpson in Kidney Trouble. That puts it at number 69 on our current list.
Like, I have mixed feelings about this. It shouldn't be anywhere near the bottom of the list because it's not a bad episode. We didn't hate it.
No.
I almost think it shouldn't be on the list at all because it's not an episode. It's just there.
I like this episode. I potentially would watch this episode again. It was funny.
I would watch the Nelson gag again. That's about it. No, it feels weird for me to want it in the top 15 or top 20.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it was good. It just wasn't bad.
Yeah, I mean, it was. There's a lot of bad episodes, so it's a bottom-heavy list of bad episodes.
It's such a nothing. It almost deserves to be on a separate list of nothing. Like, let's rank the nothings. All right, they're all the same.
All right, we'll start doing a separate list of nothing.
Your neutralness. It's a beige alert.
This is number 0 on the separate list of nothing.
Exactly. There we go.
So thanks so much, guys, for listening. That's going to do it for this episode of Worst Episode Ever. If you have an episode you want to suggest, you can do that on our website, which of course is weepodcast.com. That's weepodcast.com. And while you're there, you can click our Amazon links. Help keep the show free. All you got to do is click our links, our banners, our Amazon links, shop on Amazon like you normally would. We get a small cut. If that's too much work for you, you lazy piece of garbage, all you got to do is go to amazon.wepodcast.com. Put us in there before you go to Amazon. That'll take you right to Amazon.
Shopping, Black Friday.
Do
please,
all that. Yeah.
Whatever you're buying on Amazon on Cyber Monday or for Black Friday or for the next month and a half.
Sure.
If you just do it through us. I mean, hopefully exclusively, but if there's other podcasts or whatever, at least pick one day for us.
Right. Give us something.
It helps so much. It was like half of our income last year.
Yeah, and not just our podcast income, like our total income. We make no money, so we need to eat. We need you to shop on Amazon through WePodcast.com. And also, what else we got to plug? While you're on the WePodcast.com website, you can check out 90th Percentile. That's a show that we do.
Check out. We have a new sync points out for Air Force One, the 1997 Harrison Ford movie.
Oh, yeah.
Now that we're in this Clinton or Trump presidency.
Yes.
Also,
I like that you covered your mouth, which was actually worse.
Also, you can find our YouTube links to our YouTube page there. We've been putting
our
up
Reddit,
our
Twitter,
video. We have
our
our video episodes up there. We have our Reddit. We have everything. Twitter is worst episode. No, the Twitter is We Studios Pod.
Yes.
Worst Episode Pod still exists, but We Studios Pod is where we usually will tweet from.
That's now where we're doing most of our tweeting from.
That's the official We Studios handle.
Absolutely. And if
submit your cut all this is because we have none.
Yes. You submit your cut all this is.
Cut all these.
Your cut all those is. We should set up some kind of dedicated webpage, so maybe we've done that, but we probably haven't. So just email us, worstepisodepod@gmail.com. Send your cut all this.
Pretty sure you set one up.
There's like a page, but all it does is say email us at worstepisodepod@gmail.com.
Which technically you should email us at WeStudiosPod at this point.
It doesn't matter. Just email us. The email's on the website. Just whatever it says on the website, just do that. And if you're in the Brooklyn area, Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia, that is the first Thursday of every month. We are still in search of a permanent home. But I think
you're like Bruce Banner in 70s Incredible
We are.
Hulk.
We're kind of roving. But I think you should go to our Facebook page, and you can definitely find out what there is there. But I think we're going to be at the King's Beer Hall in Brooklyn for the first Thursday of December. So check us out. We'll both be there.
All right.
Next time, we're going to come back and do another episode. We're going to do an episode from Season 10.
Ooh, going way back.
Season 10, way back. Monty Can't Buy Me Love is what we're going to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So come back next time for that one. And, Jack, that is it for this episode of Worst Episode Ever. We don't have a cut all this, so I don't know what we're
just
going to
do. Sing National Anthem.
I am Homer, tribal chief. I am wearing tiny briefs. Braves teach values boys should know. Now extended drum solo.